Alright. Here we go. Welcome. Welcome to the Doghouse, the redo of episode 3. For those of you wondering why you're redoing your previous episodes, well, mainly because I figured it'd be a good idea to record this stuff and place it somewhere. Where exactly, I haven't really figured that one out. If you got ideas, I am more than willing to hear them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the show. We're going to go through this fairly quickly, and then I'm going to jump into Cyberpunk. Because I don't know why. I know a lot of people have not been happy with the game. I understand why. Me personally, I think it's alright. I don't think it was as great as I thought it was going to be. I'm a little disappointed about that, but other than that, the game is, in my opinion, still decent. It's decent fun for me. I know, again, people are not happy with the game, and again, like I said, I understand. First, let me just get some stuff set up. Oh, my COVID test is on the way. Very good. La-dee-dee-da-dee-dee-da.
Oh dear.
Oh, fuck. Sorry. Alright, let's get this going. Let's start the record. Let's change my screen. And let us do this.
Why are all of these $60 games?
Okay, before I start, sorry. My apologies. That's on me. The theme of today's episode is Bad Gaming Takes, Part 1. We're going to go over a few extra credits videos, and then we're going to jump into somebody else saying some dumb shit. Oh boy.
Why are all of these $60 games trying to sell me loot boxes?
Profit. They want to make more profit.
Why are all these $60 games selling me season passes for their DLC?
Profit. Because they want to make an extra buck off of their investment. Which, not necessarily a bad thing, but at the expense of everybody else and their wallets, not cool.
Why are all of these $60 games including microtransactions? Why
Again,
are all of these $60 games trying to sell me DLC on day one?
because, again, they want to make more money. And they will do it at the expense of their fans and customers. Because they don't care about us. We are a speck on their shoe.
There are many variations, but the fundamental question being asked is the same.
Fuck.
Why are they trying to make me pay more than $60 for this game? Today, we are going to answer that question.
But I already answered that question. I just did. Come on, man. Oh, boy.
AAA games should not cost $60 anymore.
Well, that depends on where you're going with this. And knowing where you're going with this, I would say you're absolutely wrong.
And I'm going to spend the rest of this video explaining why.
Good
the
luck.
price for a AAA game was set at $60 right around the launch of HD consoles, the Xbox 360 and the PS3. That was around 2005, and the price hasn't shifted again since. But the value of the US dollar certainly has. The rate of inflation over the last decade has averaged out to roughly 2% per year. According to the best figures I can find, that means that the value of goods has inflated 25.34% since we started selling games for $60. And
joy.
let's just round that down to a flat 25% to keep the math simple. So due to inflation alone, AAA games should be selling for $75 right now. But obviously, inflation isn't the only factor in...
Thank God they aren't. With the amount of shit that you get from a lot of AAA games, thank God they're They don't cost $75. Jesus Christ. Could you imagine that?
Play here. AAA games are all competing to have the best looking game on the market, and that graphical arms race gets way more expensive with each new console generation.
Ironically, here's the ironic thing about what he just said. How he said, what did he I'm sorry, I have the memory of a fucking fish.
And that graphical arms race gets way more expensive with each new console generation.
Like, this is one of the main points I see with people saying, oh, games shouldn't cost this much money, and these games are getting expensive, hence why we need microtransactions. Bullshit. If you see how these gaming companies spend their money, a lot of it doesn't go into the game. The most they spend on would be digital distribution, which is no less than what they would have to pay Steam for 30% of their profits. So let's be realistic here. And I don't have the figures on hand. I'd have to find them, and I don't want to waste too much of your time.
And sure, we have made a lot of clever efficiencies along the way to reduce costs. I mean, heck, we treat third-party game engines like middleware now, and that saves tons. But even with those savings, I would estimate that AAA games cost somewhere between 3 and 4 times as much to make as they did back in 2005. So, does that mean games should actually be costing somewhere between $225 and $300? Fortunately, no. Things aren't quite that dire. It's pretty hard to pin down exact numbers on this, but the game-playing audience is a lot bigger than it was in 2005, too. Like, several...
You see, there's also another reason for that. The reason for that is because nowadays, mobile gaming is counted in that. When years ago, you wouldn't count mobile games as being a gamer. But I digress.
And that means that there's a lot more customers to sell to, which helps to make up for that higher production cost, and can result in even bigger profits, if you manage to make a huge hit. Unfortunately, when you're counting on that higher number of sales to make a profit, if your game flops, well, you're going to be losing an impossibly large, possibly studio-sinking amount of money.
Honestly, when that happens, you can't blame anybody but yourselves. Let's be realistic. Can you really blame the customer for that?
But since we're just focusing on what the average retail price of a game should be, let's just ignore that increased risk factor for now.
Are you kidding me? You went through all that trouble just to explain that, and now you just, let's ignore that.
Based on what we've seen firsthand working in this industry, much of which is under NDA, unfortunately, if I had to make a gut estimate, and understand this really is just a rough guess, I would say that the actual retail price of a modern AAA game, without any additional ongoing revenue sources to support it, should probably be as high as $85 to $90.
What? What? Oh, for fuck's sake. For fuck's sake, man. $90? Games cost that now. If you include, again, the season pass, all the microtransactions, all that shit. Like, let's be honest here. Like, they act like they... You know what?
New. Now, understandably, that number freaks the industry out.
Yeah, because they know nobody's going to pay for that. I'm not going to pay for that.
Outside of Australia is going to pay $90 for a video
here we go,
game.
making fun of Australians
again. We all saw
again.
what happened to the Neo Geo, and this fear has been compounded by the success of the mobile game market, which has sort of trained consumers to think that games should be astonishingly cheap. I mean, for a tablet game...
Dude...
$10 is considered expensive, even if that same game would cost $30 on the DS or $40 on Steam. And for that matter, Steam sales have been training us to expect cheaper games too.
No, they haven't. Steam sales, in and of itself, are extremely genius. The way Steam does their business in this matter and their refund policy is incredible. In the extent that yeah, you could buy, for example, you could, nowadays, and I know there's another YouTuber by the name of It's a Gundam, he made this point, and he's absolutely right. Nowadays, you could pretty much tell how bad a game is going to be, or how good a game is going to be. It's not that hard anymore. So nowadays, what you can do especially if you're a PC gamer like me, you can basically wait for the game to come out, and then wait for it to go on sale on Steam, and then you're good. And then you're not paying full price.
So
It's
the
not
industry
training
has
people
kept-
to... Sorry, prematurely did that. It's not... It's not training people to expect lower prices. It's training people to... It's called patience. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about there.
that $60 price right where it is. And, I mean, maybe they're right to do so. A lot of people got pretty bent out of shape when the price got bumped up to $60 back in 2005. And there is something about the number 70 that just feels like, yikes, that's a lot of money.
Exactly for the reason that I just explained. Because nowadays, a lot of games suck. Especially from AAA companies like EA, Activision, Bethesda. What's another big one? What's another big one? Actually, no, Bethesda. They got bought by Microsoft, so I don't know if
Industry
they...
wisdom really may be right here. Maybe raising that standard price any higher than $60 would lead to a drop in sales. But by not raising prices, we've sort of put ourselves in a tough spot. If we are going to cover our development costs, reduce the risk of catastrophic losses, and show our shareholders the return percentages they're expecting, we've got to do something to increase revenue.
Here's another thing that's bothering me about this. It puts the responsibility of this onto the consumer, which is not how supply and demand works. This is not how commerce works. Commerce works in a way that I create a product, you want that product, so you pay for that product. If you don't want the product, you don't buy it. I mean, what the hell is going on here, man? Jesus
And we tried to
Christ.
do that in a lot of different ways, to varying degrees of success. First, we tried increasing revenue by selling DLC, but fans got upset if we sold that DLC at launch, and they didn't buy it if we released the DLC later.
Yeah, because usually that DLC could have been in the actual game, but they wanted to charge you extra.
Next, we tried designing games to be perpetual experiences, games that you would play all year long, because then we could sell map packs and expansions over that game's longer lifespan.
Fortnite.
But supporting those games long term turned out to be pretty expensive too, and it didn't really work for every kind of game. Besides, players can only actively keep up with so many perpetual games at once.
Yeah, because a lot of them have jobs, have lives that they need to get back to.
So all of those perpetual games have to compete for attention, and the audience just gets locked down. It's like the MMORPG flood all over again. And so now we are trying the next thing, loot boxes. We'll come back to the specific topic of loot boxes in a couple of weeks, but this is basically where we're at. And now we as an audience have to decide what we want. Are we okay with paying more for these games at retail? $70?
Another thing. This is another thing that's bothering me about this video. It's implying that if this is... You see this as... If this, the $70 mark, happens... that it will do away with microtransactions. It won't. Trust me. If this were to happen, we would still be getting microtransactions. You want to know why? Because companies are greedy, and they need to earn that extra scratch. So none of this BS, alright?
$80? Maybe even more? The data suggests that the answer is no, but if that's the case, well, we're gonna have to learn to live with loot boxes or microtransactions or whatever other model the industry attempts next. And by learn to live with, I don't mean put up with predatory crap. I mean we're gonna have to find a way to reward developers for making good supplementary income systems
Again, that's not our responsibility.
that aren't overly aggressive or in any way required to play competitively.
What the
Monetization
flying fuck?
systems that leave you satisfied and actually increase your enjoyment of the game you're spending dozens of hours on, even if you choose to spend very little. But make no mistake, those really are our only two options right now. Because, like I said at the beginning, AAA games just should not cost $60 anymore. See you next week.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Also, I completely forgot my point, but I'm probably going to remember it in a minute. Oh yeah. This is another thing. Actually, you know what? I'll remember my fucking thing later. Let's read the comments, because we all know the best thing about YouTube videos are comments. Even if companies raise the price of games to 80, They will still be pushing DLC and loot boxes. Now that they've been established, they're never going away. That's a good point. Things are only worth what people are willing to pay for them. If the AAA and game industry can't recuperate their bloated budgets by selling games for $60, that's not the consumer's problem. Exactly. If this is not our problem. Well, who outside of Australia is going to pay $90 for a video game? Weeps. You're right. AAA games shouldn't cost $60. At this point, that's just the entry fee for the casino disguised as a game. Oh, fuck. That's actually really funny. What does it say? Make them cost $200. I'll still wait until I'm paying under $30. Yeah, that's the one the majority of PC gamers do, especially with Steam. Oh, this is funny. I can't even afford $60 games. What makes them think I'm going to be able to afford more than that? Oh, that's funny. Alright. So, the next video is also another extra credits video. I was just thinking, what the hell, man? I don't want to watch another one of these bullshit-ass videos. Well, don't you worry. This one's shorter than the other one. Thank God.
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is.
Okay, so the premise of this video is that putting Nazis in video games is bad because it normalizes them. Now, I'm going to make a few points. One, for example, since when are the Nazis a huge problem? Yeah, they're an issue, and they're still around, but they're not that big of a problem like they were during World War II. Okay, so let's hit them brakes, alright?
And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
Well, because it isn't. Especially in a video game where there are literally no consequences except for the ones that you suffer in the game itself. So, I really don't know where you're going with this, my friend.
This is bad on so many levels.
No, the fuck it's not. You're making a mountain out of a molehill like everybody else.
No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis.
Well, let's be honest. In a game of cats and robbers, well, not cats and robbers, cops and robbers. Thank you. There we go. In a game of cops and robbers, somebody's got to be the robber. Alright? That's how you make things fair. If you don't like it, don't play the game.
And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
Well, in a video game, they are functionally interchangeable, especially in a multiplayer video game, so... Again, where are you going with this?
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis...
What the fuck? This is just fucked up, man. Why are you trying to... Like, the amount of smugness that had to go into this fucking drawing, man. That ain't right.
If they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi.
So fucking...
In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life? Yeah. That's a big old nope.
Could you imagine that message popping up? Do you know how quickly that would destroy the immersion of the game? Like, come on, man. Think about these things.
Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well. There you are, playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet, second verse, same as the first. There it is.
I hate that idea of, oh, you didn't choose this. Well, you're the one that bought the game. So, yeah, you kind of did choose this. You kind of did. So, I don't know what to tell you, my friend.
I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game.
Oh, boo
we
fucking
can do better
ho.
than this. Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or
I would say the majority of people who dealt with Nazis in World War II are not touching a PS5 or a gaming PC. So, where are you going? Again, where are you going
who
with
have
this?
had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis. No one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without actually opting into it in your game.
Oh, for fuck's sake, just don't play the game then. Jesus Christ.
And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it, to stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them
You are grasping at straws, my friend.
just window dressing for entertainment. Those uniforms, those symbols become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies. Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No.
So what the hell is the point of this video?
But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy. It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous. It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should...
Okay, the Iron Cross actually didn't start off as a Nazi symbol. If you knew your history, you'd know that, but no. I forgot where it started, though. I know it didn't start off in the Nazis.
immediately
With the
leave,
Nazis.
and if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there. It seems like such a small and simple thing, but it
No. Again, you're making a problem out of nothing.
It's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight. By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends. By the 1000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them. Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year.
Oh my
So what do we do?
God.
Ooh, that's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent. Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise.
Oh,
Or
for fuck's sake.
simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue, rather than Axis versus allies. A good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege.
Rainbow Six Siege is not a World War II game. These are games set in World War II that you're talking about. I don't understand people anymore, man. And this is driving me insane.
All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists.
Oh
In
my
fact,
God.
by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is. And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other.
Well, that's how... Oh my God.
Allow players to choose which side they're on.
You do realize the problems that would cause, right?
Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems,
So why'd you even bring it up?
such as creating shorter wait times for fascists. But you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended if it meant players had an active choice in what teams they would represent. If you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games, and if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events and be a realistic take on those battles. Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you
Well,
need
in a lot of cases they were. Yes, one side had an advantage over other, but in a lot of cases in history, both sides were equal.
Nazis anymore
Well, not
for
equal in
historical
the sense of,
accuracy.
you get where I'm going
Oh,
with
and
this.
once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich. And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate. And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism.
Well, that kind of is what you're saying. You're saying we can't have Nazis in video games. Nazis were a big part of World War II, so... I don't know what to tell you.
We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist.
What the If that's not what you're saying, what the hell was the point of this whole video? Yeah,
But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into. And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better. And in this particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. All it requires is that we in the game industry be cognizant of the world around us and what these symbols we're drawing on mean.
But that's not the point of entertainment. Entertainment is for us to escape our reality and the world around us. And this is the big problem with entertainment now. They try to mimic the world that we live in now, which should not happen. I don't want to be reminded about how shitty my life is. Alright, enough of me ranting. Let's go to the comments, shall we? Hello, Ackman. This is their pinned comment addressing all the backlash they got. I'm not going to read it through that. Not going to waste my time. Locks Sim family in the basement and starts a fire upstairs. Wait, gamers are playing. It's what now? That is a fact. That is a big fact. There you are, playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and all of a sudden, you're mowing down hundreds of innocent civilians in an airport. Like the no Russian reference there, nice. Who's here in June 2020 just to see the amount of dislikes on this video? Actually, let's see the amount of dislikes. Holy shit. That's a lot of dislikes. That's not good. And this is why everyone watches Oversimplified now. Alright, you're playing Forza and then suddenly you're a car. Just a bunch of comments memeing on these guys. I was an urge after playing Bowser in your car to kidnap women and send an army to kill 2 plumbers. What the flying fuck? What the hell? We aren't saying you shouldn't play games about World War II or terrorism. The entire rest of the video seems to disagree. Exactly. Exactly. The distinct lack of intelligence in this video is incredible. We seem to have struck a nerve. No, your argument is just incredibly illogical and contemptible to the creation of art. I couldn't agree more. Hey kids, don't play cops and robbers because they normalize robbers. Yeah, that's the exact message they're saying. Alright. Alright, so... So, I'm gonna put up 2 more videos. Or at least one or two more videos. And this one is actually not from too long ago. This one is not from too long ago. This is Ferociously Steph of the Twitch Safety Advisory Council, I believe it was called. I don't know if you guys remember that. But basically what happened this trans woman, I believe she was a trans woman, said some things that got us gamers really upset. Here's one of them.
I said a lot of people with cis white male sounding voices.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? How do you sound cisgendered and white? I don't get it. Just because somebody speaks the King's English doesn't make them a white guy, okay? There are black people that speak very well. Oh boy.
Are here telling me that voice chat isn't a problem,
Because it's not. You're making it a problem.
and that is a fact. We all have voices that aren't marginalized.
Who gets marginalized by their voice? Do these people think when they oh boy. You know, this kind of goes back to that old saying, think before you speak. Or think before you act. But, my god, I guess these people didn't figure that one out, did they?
Coming in and saying, just mute. It's not an issue. Everyone faces harassment. I've heard it all.
Because it's true. You can, again, just mute people. You can report. Hell, you can do more than just mute people. If they're being that much of an asshole, you can report them and get them kicked off. Or, here's a crazy one. You guys ready for this one? You ready for this one? This one's gonna be crazy. You could just leave. You could just leave. And if that doesn't work, again, report them. Jesus Christ.
You're just repeating my several, like a year ago.
They're repeating it because, again, they're right. And you aren't.
I've been through this all.
Okay, look. Look, Steph. I'm gonna talk directly to you. I'm not saying you have the right to be harassed. Well, actually, no, let me rephrase that. I'm not saying you deserve to be harassed. You don't. Nobody deserves to be harassed. But it does happen. These things happen. And sometimes the best thing to do is to just either face it or ignore it. And what you're doing does not help. It doesn't help. Alright. Let's do one more, shall we? And then I'm going to call it a day and then jump on to Cyberpunk. Let me find something. What's this one?
The object of the puzzle was to get your car across the maze by...
Oh, this isn't. No. Not what I'm looking for. What is that one where she called a bunch of gamers white supremacists? Where is that? Where is it? Where is it?
Well, no, I just...
Here it is, here it is. Here we go. This one really got my blood boiling.
I'm just not cool with white supremacy, y'all.
I mean, that's fine. I don't really care for it either. I mean, I don't lose sleep over it, but I really don't care about it.
It's really not that. I think a lot of you gamers are actually white supremacists. Sorry.
Aren't you technically a gamer? So, by your logic, that makes you a white supremacist, my dear. Take that.
Just a fact.
Sorry about that.
About how I feel.
Oh, wait, what?
Just in case you were still wondering.
Just based off how I feel. A fact based off... Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I gotta stop watching this shit, man. This stuff gives me headaches. I swear to God. Alright, alright. Well, that's all for today, folks. I'm gonna bring this to an end. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.